Indigenous groups frequently experience inequities in social and economic conditions, prejudice, and infringements of their human rights. Supporting indigenous rights involves promoting fairness, equal chances, and eliminating bias.
Hi! 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 Hi everyone! I am Chelsea Kate Sarladeg. Today, as we're going to look at the journey of by an individual that motivated by justice and determination. Come along! And we explore motives behind persons' decisions to support indigenous rights. It results from the appreciation of diversity and the significance of indigenous cultures offered to our planet. My interaction and relationship with indigenous tribes have profoundly inspired respect and adoration, leaving an enduring impression. Choosing to advocate for indigenous rights is an honor to address historical wrongdoings, acknowledging the preservation of these communities and uniting against currently injustices. Plus, it actively supports the cultural tapestry preservation, choosing this advocacy to make sure that future generations may appreciate and benefit from the richness of the indigenous legacy. And by standing up of the rights of the indigenous people, we make the world more equitable and well-balanced, acknowledging our common humanity and interdependence for our paths and decisions. Why is it this advocacy is important to me? First, it is important to acknowledge that indigenous people they hold significant perspective and acknowledge the biodiversity, sustainable living, and the perception of the environment. Second, their traditional way of existing knowledge can teach us the important lesson about living in the peaceful world. The advocacy collaboration in this movement thus is essential for righting historical wrongs as well as forming the future from indigenous communities and contribution from the right of values and acknowledgement.
The challenge continues for indigenous groups who confront modern problems like environmental degradation, forced integration into dominant culture, and institutionalized bias. It is because of these ongoing issues that promoting indigenous rights has become a top priority. What motivates this advocacy? An unshakable dedication to fairness, equal treatment, and the core principle that all people, irrespective of their culture heritage.
Well, why should other people know the importance of our books? Now, let me give you a brief explanation of this. We want to spread awareness and strengthen our efforts to our advocacy, raise visibility, and can bring more support, resources, and collaboration, which can increase the impact of our advocacy campaigns. Our advocacy for indigenous rights other means confronting stereotype and prejudice, increasing awareness in an effective way to dispel misconception, promote understanding, and counter negative stereotypes that can lead to discrimination. By confronting others about indigenous rights advocacy, we empower indigenous community and empower others through the greater support, recognition, and respect to other struggle goals and contributions.
Numerous native cultures make up the tapestry of humankind, each possessing distinct languages, custom, and knowledge. Recently, we illuminated the significance of promoting indigenous rights, a push forward fairness, parity, and safeguarding cultural legacy. The road of advocating for indigenous rights is lined with the agonizing reverberation of past wrongdoings, colonization, dislocation, and the deterioration of essential truths. However, from this history is Asians an unyielding character, powered by the resolve to retrieve what was seized by the shield that endures.
Sarlade. Ah! Okay. I'm sorry! Indigenous advocacy is widely seen as crucial and necessary movement that seeks to understand past injustices, promote fairness, and protect the rights of well-being of native communities. Globally, and mainly believe that respecting indigenous rights is vital for fostering more inclusive and fair society. Supporter of indigenous advocacy stress the most important of preserving cultural diversity, recognizing land and resources rights, and enabling indigenous communities to make decisions about their own growth. They often argue that indigenous knowledge and practices greatly contribute to environmental sustainability and provide valuable insight into living in harmony with nature. However, it's important to note that views of indigenous advocacy can differ and some may have different perspectives, bias, and cultural, political, or economic factors. Constructive decisions and understanding different viewpoints are key for finding common ground and working towards a more and just inclusive world. Indigenous right advocacy is not limited to supporting one community alone. It's all about creating a shared future for all, founded on fairness, regard for others, and mutual comprehension. When we stand up for the right of indigenous people, we clear a path towards a society where variety is welcome, past harm are mended, and each perspective matters. By cultivating partnership, we can generate sustainable solutions that uphold indigenous rights. By further the progress, I strongly encourage all of you to back groups and effort that champion indigenous rights. Inform yourself about difficulties confronted by indigenous communities and magnifying their perspective. Partake their consideration, discussion, confront prejudice, and advocate for more inclusive, fair society. Today, we're going to explore the journey taken by the individual that is motivated by justice and determination. Come along as we experience motives.